Greetings, everyone. This is Way Off, back in War Thunder today. As you may have seen, I put a few Minecraft videos up. That's kind of my side thing. I do enjoy creating stuff as much as I enjoy destroying it. But today, I am taking to the skies in the MC-202 Folgore. The Tier 2, though battle rated at 1.7, Italian Interceptor. And this match was kind of an odd match. Apparently there was an event going on, and for some reason Tier 2 was abandoned, so every time I queued into Tier 2, I ran into a lot of AI-heavy games. This one had a bunch. I think there was only like 5 real players on either side. And interestingly enough, over half of the players present appeared to be playing on the PS4, if the stars on their names are anything to go by. At first I wasn't sure about that, and I looked it up, and apparently PS4 users from North America are designated by having a star next to their names. And I thought this game brings up 2 interesting points of discussion, one about PS4 players, and one about the aircraft itself. And I think I'll start with the PS4 players. Because in this game, most of my victims, as it were, most of the people I intercepted were playing on the PS4. And the PS4, of course, you're using a controller, unless something has changed recently that I don't know about. And there has been a lot of discussion, we'll call it discussion, we'll be nice, about PS4 players that are now on the War Thunder servers. And usually, what ends up happening is very much like an artillery player in a game full of tanks, in a certain other game we won't mention right now. They get shat upon, more or less. I don't know how else to put it. Everything is blamed on them. If it goes wrong, it's their fault. It doesn't matter what actually happened. And all sorts of things like, they're not mature, they suck, they're just terrible players. It's all very negative. It doesn't seem like anyone's even giving them the benefit of the doubt. And I'm kind of used to that because we're on a medium where that's not a thing. Internet gaming has never been very forgiving. Communities are very, very selective, if not outright toxic, about who they choose to associate with or deal with. And anyone they don't like gets the heavy end of the vitriol hammer. But let's start with the basic thing. They're playing on the PS4. They probably, if they're really new to this, they have not played it as long as the rest of us have. PS4 hasn't been out as long as War Thunder has in total. A lot of these people getting in are going to be very new. And it's going to be a while before they develop a lot of the skills that we take for granted. Granted, I mean, there's another thing. It's like we complain about their lack of skill, and plenty of us still can't fly straight. Heck, I can't even fly straight sometimes. I still run into people occasionally. It happens. We all make mistakes. But because they're on a different platform, we're willing to accuse them of everything up front. That's silly in and of itself. And I think we need to go back and look at it again as these people are probably just starting out playing, the majority of them. They're not going to be super skilled yet. It's going to take time. And if we busy ourselves bashing them to pieces for the lack of skill that they probably aren't even meant to have yet, what's the chances of them sticking around? I kind of want this community to grow. I want it to get bigger because that means more variety, hopefully. The other point, too, that comes up is that they're going to be less skilled just because they're using a controller. Now, this is interesting because I did used to play this game with the Xbox 360 pad, and it produced some interesting results. I would say overall the controller's not as accurate. And indeed, I did actually get very frustrated with mine because controller support wasn't very forthcoming when I first tried to use a controller, and this was a while ago. And I'm not sure if it still is. I mean, we still seem to have issues calibrating joysticks half the time for this game. I thought it was less accurate. However, I thought I could maneuver better with a controller, and I appreciated the rapid use of the camera controls that I got out of my controller, because essentially one thumbstick I used to steer the plane, and it's directly linked to the surfaces of the aircraft, where with a mouse, the plane's kind of chasing wherever the mouse cursor goes, and it makes the changes accordingly. where the controller feels a lot more responsive when it comes to maneuvers, at least in that respect. And then with the other thumbstick, I could control the camera view very rapidly. It allowed me to constantly be aware of my surroundings much better, where with my current setup, I have to press one of the number keys and it swings around over time. So I think that's an advantage and disadvantage sort of thing. And I'm kind of curious to hear what my audience has to say about it, how you feel about controllers and how you feel about these players. Overall, I think we need to be a bit more gracious to them. We need to give them a bit more time to develop before we start slamming them for everything. And I think just because they're using a controller doesn't mean they aren't going to end up having a reasonable amount of skill or it's going to be an extreme handicap. I don't know yet. We'll have to see. But I am curious to hear everyone else's thoughts on this. Now, moving on to the separate topic, the MC-202. This is an interesting plane, and actually I'm playing all of my Italian aircraft right now because I found out I don't have any medals for the Italians, and I kind of wanted to change that. I had no service awards for them whatsoever. When I played them last time, long ago, I was not very good at this game, and I found them very frustrating. However, as I go through again, I do find some nice qualities about some of them. Most of the Italian fighters are rated at 1.7 on the battle rating, and that includes the Folgore here. And I think they are reasonably well armed. Even the smallest of the Italian interceptors carries a 12mm gun. Well, two 12mm guns. It gives them a caliber advantage against most of their opponents. And I think as long as you get into low-tier fights, that's a huge advantage, because you may have fewer shots on the target, but you're going to do more damage, and you're more likely to bring the plane down in a few bursts instead of having to saturate them with 7mm shells. That being said, Russian planes tend to prove that the shell saturation thing tends to work rather well. You just look at the I-153 or the I-16 for examples of this. And I think overall that's a strong advantage. But when I look at the Folgore in particular, I'm not sure I like how it stacks up against its competitors. And when I say competitors, I mean more planes that are going to be in 1.7 as far as battle rating goes. And there are a few. The I-16, the Ki-43, or the Hayabusa, I may be getting the number wrong, and the P-36 Hawk all come to mind rather quickly in terms of planes here. And on paper, the Folgore looks really good. It has 4 guns, it has a good amount of ammo for all those guns, and it's reasonably fast. It has a decent climb rate, as I've been demonstrating throughout this game. I'm able to use energy fighter tactics relatively effectively. But I think in practice it tends to suffer. I mean, it's a nice advantage being able to have a plane like this show up in high tier 1 and low tier 2. Or at least it feels like it. I think the Germans need something, because I gotta say, most of the low tier German planes don't have a lot going for them. At least I don't feel like they do. But I don't think it actually stacks up all that favorably against direct competitors. I think the I-16, even though it has maneuverability issues and definitely can't climb like the Folgore does, its weapons are a lot more reliable in bringing down targets. It only has 4 7mm, but they have a really high rate of fire, and they have a good chance of target saturation because of the way they're grouped together. You're going to get a lot of hits in the I-16 if you're remotely on target. I also think the I-16 is far more versatile as an aircraft because it can carry a variety of ground attack implements to which the Folgore has no answer to whatsoever. And it's a reasonable dogfighter at low altitudes. It can kind of stay behind targets, it's got decent maneuverability, and the Folgore doesn't do well in this department. Being more of an energy fighter, it has trouble trying to win a turning fight ever. I would never recommend getting this thing into a turning fight, and that restricts you to a energy fighter strategy if you want to be constantly successful, I think. And you can do a turning fight, maybe get 1 or 2 kills, but you usually get wrecked in the process, where if you adopt an energy fighter strategy, you can keep going longer, hopefully. So I think the i16 wins out in versatility and to some degree maneuverability. The Hayabusa definitely beats the Folgore in maneuverability. Never a question. And I do rely on the Hayabusa's guns more than I do on the Folgores. I think I get more hits in with the Hayabusa. I can stay behind planes longer. The guns are fairly damaging. They're the same caliber. There may be only two of them, but two 12mm with a reasonable accuracy and a decent rate of fire can really bring things down. And again, it has a ground attack option of sorts. The only thing I'm not sure about really is how this plane stacks up with the first of the P-36s. Now, when I first flew the Hawk ages ago, and there's a video of this, the thing was a patented energy fighter. It could not turn at all with its prototype flight model that they gave it a long time ago. It was purely an energy fighter, and I actually liked that about it because it enforced the idea of energy fighting, which you were going to have to adopt anyway later up on the tree. With its changes, I'm not sure how it stacks up anymore. I think it is more maneuverable, and if that's the case, I would again give it the edge over the Folgore. But I'm not sure. I'll have to fly it again. Either way, that's all I have for today. Let me know in the comment section below, or on Duxter, as I will post there as well, what you think of both the subject of PS4 players and of the MC202. So, until next time, good luck out there.